Hey guys, JT Tran here, and today I have a very special guest, Kezia Noble. Now, Kezia is one of my very good friends out here in the pickup and dating industry. Not only is she obviously a very beautiful woman, but she is very talented in educating guys on what it takes to date beautiful women just like her. So for our audience that aren't really familiar with you, could you tell them a little bit about yourself, Kez?
Sure, I've been helping men become more successful with women since 2006, and I've been running my own company since, I'd say, 2009, 2010. I travel the world with my team of experts, instructors and wing girls across the world holding boot camps, and also a published author. I sometimes forget that. I actually sometimes think, oh yeah, I forgot about the book that's gone out.
What's the name of your book?
The Noble Art of Seducing Women, and that's sold now almost 250,000 copies.
Nice.
So I'm super
helping
proud.
a lot of guys out there.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and that's me. And my advice is always honest and very direct.
Yes. Now, Kezia, one of the topics that occasionally comes up is how does a guy deal with a girl that maybe they've approached and she seems a little bitchy, right? Maybe a little bit mean, or maybe that's just him, but his perception is that she's a little bit, bitchy. How would you advise guys like that to deal with a girl like that?
Well, first of all, guys need to change their perception of the situation. If you look at a girl who's maybe acting a little bit difficult, rather than just presuming she's a bitch or a really frightening person, get it in perspective and actually see it as a protection shield. It's like a defense mechanism.
Okay.
And every woman is entitled to have that. It's a way for us to filter out certain men. It's a very quick way. Women make very snap decisions, quick judgments. They haven't got a lot of time to sit there and go, maybe he is a really nice guy. Maybe I'm just going to ignore my friends for 5 minutes and make him my top priority. That doesn't happen. That happens in the movies. It doesn't happen in reality.
Right.
So she's allowed to have this filtering system. And actually, if you kind of respect it internally, if you respect it, you'll find that it's much easier to micromanage. Let me explain. A lot of guys will be talking to the woman who's all smiles and friendly with everyone she meets. But remember, she's doing that with everybody. So if she does end up your girlfriend, well, you're going to be going out with her, having a special relationship with her, and how can you trust her when she goes out to clubs and bars?
Good point, I hadn't thought of that.
Whereas a girl with a defense mechanism, a bitch shield, whatever you want to call it, I don't like calling it bitch shield, more like a shit test or a filtering system. That girl is usually very loyal. You know that when she's with somebody, that's it, totally loyal, and when she goes out, she's going to still have that kind of very...
She'll be screening everybody.
Yes. And people will be approaching her a lot less. So first thing is to change your perception of the situation. Look at her as not only somebody as a filtering system, but a bit of a kid sister. Like a bratty kid sister. And, the one that you sort of go, you sort of tap on
Give her a nuggie.
Well, I wouldn't do that, but you've got to be looking at it through that lens.
Okay.
She's just like a bratty sister rather than, this super bitch from Dynasty or something like that. So when you go and speak to her, you're in a better zone, you're in a better position, the way that you're dealing with this on a subconscious level, you're dealing with it a lot better, in a lot stronger place. And you'll find that when you speak to her, your non-verbal communication is much more in line with what you're saying. So, I can give someone a really great tip and say this to a bitchy girl, but your body language is going to be saying something else if in your mind you're still thinking of her as something really frightening, quite intimidating. So you have to keep your non-verbal communication completely congruent with what you're saying, your verbal communication. So, okay, what do you say? You must validate her. This is extremely important, to validate somebody that has this kind of persona. So you talk to her, she gives you some some sort of cutting words, or she's looking away, and it's a bit of a pantomime.
Right.
She's not being subtle about it. She's making a pantomime to let you know, hey,
not having it.
I'm off limits, kind of thing. And you turn around and say, you know what? Thank God I've met a difficult woman. I love difficult women. She's like, what? So you're already pattern breaking. That's very important. Because before, she's in autopilot response mode. This is what she always does. This is her routine. Just like a pickup artist, she has her own routine. So you immediately say, thank God, all the girls here are so boring and nice. I hate nice people. They've got no personality, don't you think? So you're already creating a kind of incubator of just you and her, okay? And you're saying, you're like drawing this perimeter around you, saying like, these people are weak, these people are boring. We are the interesting, exciting ones. And often that is what these kind of women are looking for. They're looking for the person, they want to find their match, meet their match. So that's the first thing that you can do. And immediately they usually lower their guard and they sort of smile. And once they smile, believe me, that's the moment that you broke it.
You cracked the code with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Now, when she starts smiling, I actually encourage my clients to step it up even more and say, don't smile. No, I don't want you to start being nice. And then it's really hard for them to not smile. When you validate somebody, it takes their power away a lot. So validation, pattern breaking, and being very cheeky. These women want a cheeky guy. They don't want somebody saying, cheer up, or why are you like this, or why don't you smile more?
Yeah,
there's a confrontation. I don't want you to get into a confrontation.
Great.
That's my advice.
Oh, excellent advice. Now, sometimes what I see is when guys, like you're saying, that mindset, don't have that mindset that this is, she's being bitch because she's a bitch. Part of that is the student or the guy is coming from a sense of self-worth that's a little bit lower. That's just the way he perceives women. Like, how would you suggest to your students and just guys out there to be able to form a connection with a woman instead of saying, she's up here or she's down here, but to form like an equal sort of relationship with a girl?
This is going to be a surprising answer.
Yeah.
It all comes down to conversation skills. It took me about 5 years to realise that. Let me explain. My sister's in the background here nodding her head, by the way. So yeah, we should have had like a multi-camera to show like the audience's reaction. Yeah. No, but seriously, conversation is everything. I never get approach anxiety. I never get frightened about meeting new people. You don't get intimidated about meeting new people. If I said you're going to be meeting like the professor of the world, or you're going to be meeting someone that you have nothing in common with, you're never going to feel that kind of anxiety that most people get when they meet people who they perceive to be more in a higher status than they are.
Right.
And that's because if you're a conversationalist, you can connect with anyone. People are fighting about running out of things to say, saying the wrong thing, being awkward, uncomfortable silences, not being able to market themselves properly. When you have conversation skills, which is the bedrock to the interaction, everything else is just sound bites and it's the little sprinklings on top, but you need that bedrock, you need that blueprint, and conversation skills really does it. So, for instance, this sounds super arrogant, but I've never ever pretended I'm a modest person. When I'm going to a party or something and there's going to be people there that I know I have nothing in common with, they're probably a lot more intelligent than me, much more successful than me, I never feel intimidated at all. I have this mindset. I'll give everyone 5 minutes. I'll be super nice. I'll have the best, conversation skills at hand. I'll make a connection. They get 5 minutes of my time. And if they fail to impress me, and I'm talking about on an intellectual level, many levels, emotional levels, I'm going to say thank you, but no thank you, and walk off. And it puts you in the upper hand when you have that frame of mind before going on into any interaction with anybody. Most people are thinking, I hope I'm liked, I hope they'll be nice to me, I hope they accept me. This is all needy. But you can't be totally genuine with this new ethos, this new thought pattern, if your conversation skills are weak, because you need to be able to back it up. Because if you don't have the conversation skills, you'll find that will keep refueling the approach anxiety. You say, well, what's the point in speaking to anyone? I had nothing to say. Conversation skills are everything. You need to know how to market yourself, and that's how you can connect with people.
Okay, that's great. Now, with your students, what would you say is a common obstacle that you help them overcome? Like some sort of challenge that you help them tackle?
Well, we spoke already about running out of things to say. That's a huge one, but we've touched that. So another one would be getting out of the friend zone and sexual escalation.
Yes, a very common one.
Which are, as you know, interlinked, aren't they? So the friend zone, I always say to my clients, listen, okay, if you get to the point where you've had a really good conversation and you've made a really good connection, don't be frightened, but you're actually in the friend zone. But there's a difference between being in the friend zone and being friends locked. Big difference. Give yourself a pat on the back if you get to the friend zone in 20 minutes. That's great. But there's got to be a point when it has to escalate. And that's by adding attraction spikes and something that I call sexual tension accelerators. Now, attraction spikes is essentially it's flirting.
Right.
So you can flirt on a non-verbal level and a verbal level. I want to talk about compliments right now. Compliments that you can use, and it can really make you stand out from all the other guys that are trying to flirt with this woman. Women want to feel special, they don't want to feel idolized. Big difference. So a lot of guys think, okay, well, I'll try and make her feel special, and I'll start giving her lots and lots of generic, meaningless compliments. Make sure you give 1 or 2 compliments that are bespoke, or it feels bespoke at least.
Yeah.
Something that feels tailor-made for her. That will make her feel special, and she'll appreciate it. And on the second compliment, if you can, make it a little bit more sexual. So I always say the legs. If you're super confident, yep, you can talk about the breasts and the ass.
Yeah.
But legs is a safe bet. So just saying, well, sorry, but your legs are incredible. What were you saying again? And it's that beautiful change of subject, not change of subject because, oh my God, what have I said? It's a change of subject, which means I understand the power of timing. And that's what flirting is. So choose your compliment wisely. Don't give her endless generic compliments. Give her something that's specific, tailor-made for her. And make sure that you mention something about her torso or her legs. Be very confident in that moment, change the subject, and let her digest that in her own time and not feel obliged to have to respond to it in any way.
So this has been some really great advice. Like, I've learned a lot, and I know that if I've learned here, then you guys have definitely picked up some really golden nuggets of information. So for our audience, Kezia, how can they find more about you and your company?
You can find out more about me and my incredible team of instructors and wing girls. My website, www.kezia-noble.com. You can find out more about my global boot camps, my 7-day mastery course, and my products. In particular, if you've enjoyed some of the answers that I've given, or you found it helpful, some of the answers I've given in today's interview, then I would suggest looking at the 10-Hook Lead System DVD set, which focuses very much on conversation skills, or the Attraction to Seduction DVD set, which talks about sexual escalation and flirting techniques.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Take care, guys.